Uncouth Radio. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We on the air. We are in the house, and the house is packed. We got a whole lot to talk about. We got a whole lot to get into. We had the Coup Klux Klan popping last week. We had an attempted insurrection. We had Trump telling people to go get Mike Pence. You had a crowd with a noose going to the Capitol telling Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. So quickly they turn on their people, and this is the interesting thing about watching Trump and watching his people and the way they follow him. Just last week, and me and Mars, we talked about this earlier today. Just last week, people like Wayne Dupree and certain other conservative pundits, they had Mike Pence back, they had Mitch McConnell back, and Lindsey Graham back. Man, they done turned on all of them. It's literally all Trump or nothing. Like if you ain't down with Trump, you part of the Chinese collusion conspiracy. Like they was connecting Mitch McConnell to China today as he was part of the election fraud now. So it's just interesting to see how against reality some of them can be. But I want to get right into it. We seen a myriad of things have come from this coup. Not only have we seen what Trump has the power to incite and what he has incited, but we've also got a chance to see something that we've been talking about a whole lot. A lot of law enforcement officers across the nation, not just enforcement officers from DC, but a lot of law enforcement officers from across the nation have been arrested for going and being part of the insurrection. They've been arrested or they have been suspended. So that just shows you how deep this runs, because you have some high-ranking officers actually who have been arrested for, some of the things they do. There's an officer in New York who was supposed to be the head of the equal opportunity part of the New York Police Department, and then they come to find out that, of course, he was racist and he had wrote a bunch of racist statements. And this is the guy that's supposed to be the head of people being treated fairly in his department. So that just shows you how systemic and how structural the damage is in this country. And I'm kind of glad that the light was shining. They shined. We were able to shine a light on this because so many people who wanted to say this is not America, this is not who we are. We really got a chance to see that this is exactly who America is. This is exactly what we are and who we are. So Quincy, I want you to talk to me about the law enforcement aspect of it. Oh, Chandra, go ahead.
Just before Quincy gets into that, I would just encourage you guys to. There's two specials that they've put together, two new specials. One is through ABC and it's on Hulu. And one is a Wolf Blitzer special. It's on CNN. What that does is that takes you through the behind the scenes, because a lot of people are like, who's taking these pictures? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? That's the media. Y'all know they go in war and they'll be on the ground. Like that's what they do. So in this instance, there was a lot of media there taking pictures, documenting. They're talking to people. They're really giving you an insight on why this was a different situation, why it wasn't just a protest or a stop the, what they say, stop the count, whatever it was. They're giving you different, stop the steal. They're giving you a different insight. So I really encourage you guys to watch that because, I know you put this down here like black people, like, we already know what's up. But just to give you guys an insight, they're actually interviewing people while they're, running into these buildings and what they're actually, these people are, and it's interesting that they're surprised that the FBI is knocking at their door. But, that's another story for another day. But yeah, go ahead. Hulu has one and it's an ABC special, and CNN has one, and they both are really good. So, check those out.
And the more you see, the more you learn just how bad this shit really was.
Right, exactly. And at some point, I do want to talk about the 24th because I know a lot of people were a little bit confused about that. So I wanted to just do like a brief, once we talk about impeaching, like right before that, because that was like their first step. So yeah, let's talk about these law enforcement people.
Yeah, let's go. Let's start with that angle. Quincy.
What up? Well, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I've always thought like this was an elephant in the room into regards of law enforcement in our military, actually. That I remember just being in a police station and every TV was on Fox News. And and then they kind of make you feel pressure to agree with their politics. And I've actually seen people get labeled and targeted when you didn't agree with them politics wise. I remember the night Obama was elected, I had to work that night. And you would have thought that Obama just unleashed every Crip and blood in the nation to go in houses and kill white folks the way a lieutenant, our watch commander, came in there and talked about politics. I've always been uncomfortable with people in law enforcement positions even bringing up their politics in a workplace. Because I think, as we all know, you see that ideology overflows onto the street and how they treat people. Case in point, I remember when George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin, you had a lot of law enforcement people backing up George Zimmerman as if he was a cop. And like really arguing, like you would thought he was a cop. And I said, wait a minute, you had two people. One of them was only arrested for marijuana. The other one was arrested for domestic violence and fighting a police officer. And that's the person you guys are backing. And that was very telling to me. And so what last week was a display of, it was no surprise that you saw a lot of military, because I know people who dealt with racism in the military.
Yeah,
I definitely dealt with it, saw it in law enforcement. And we even, we saw a captain, the LAPD captain. You know, I remember I shared that LAPD captain saying like the Republican Party is over with. This is now the MAGA party. She did this on her job page, her LAPD captain page. So when that ideology is pushed out there, and then when shootings, things happen, and you like people want to say Black Lives Matter, and this is because of Black folks been oppressed for so long and they killing Black folks. When you see law enforcement folks speak out against that, that's their true ideology, beliefs coming out. They're not just standing up for law enforcement; they stand up for what they believe.
For white supremacy, you can say it.
For white supremacy. Yeah. And this is my last point. What really put that contradiction out there about, it's really not about law enforcement, but it's about the ideology of white supremacists. It's that you had cops being attacked last week. You had a Black officer who faced a mob by himself. All the Blue Lives Matter posts that we saw last summer, I didn't see none of it.
Nowhere to be found.
I didn't see the Blue Lives Matter for a cop. A cop was killed last week by that mob. No Blue Lives Matter post for him. And I heard he was a Trump supporter. That was killed. And so now we know that when they say Blue Lives Matter, it was only Blue Lives Matter as a counter to Black Lives Matter, because Blue Lives only matter when it involves a Black man being killed by the cops. And I think I had to say this, but I think that's the positive thing about last week. It kind of reminded me of when Dr. King and them marched on Selma, and they wanted the media to be there to see how folks really react. And when the media captured them being beaten and all that, then the country was outraged. So like, wait a minute, y'all really be doing this? So last week to me was reminiscent of that. It just shows that, it shows the contradiction that we all knew existed,
right,
for years. but you saw Blue Lives Didn't Matter last week. Matter of fact, you saw people actually saying "fuck the police." They were saying "fuck the police."
Yes,
beating up cops.
Wow, wait. They were saying "fuck the police" while holding Blue Lives Matter flags.
Yes, and so
and saying, "I thought you were on our side." That was another one.
Well, that and I'm glad you brought that up, Chan, because I thought you were on my side. Is the hugest indictment upon what they think? They really think the police is a valet for their racism, right?
So it's like they didn't really care about the police. They supported the police because they felt like the police, by killing black men and black women, was doing their work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then last week, when they found out police officers actually job is to uphold the law for everybody, no matter who you are. It's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be on our side.
Yep.
But the thing that pissed me off more than anything, all the cops that's on my page that was posting Blue Lives Matter throughout last summer, I didn't see not one Blue Lives Matter post. Not one. They wouldn't even acknowledge the black officer as a hero. So that's
and even those officers who were so loud about the civil unrest that happened during the summer with Black Lives Matter, they were so disappointed and had so many think pieces and posts and videos to talk about why it's so wrong to destroy the community neighborhood. These same guys didn't have nothing against people who were literally trying to overturn the government.
Damn, can you imagine Obama inciting a bunch of black people to run into the Capitol with the second person after the president, the vice president in there, and the third person that's next in line, which is the Speaker of the House? And then also they talking about, oh, we need to just move on for unity.
Yeah.
Obama would be facing murder charges right now.
No, I agree.
Died last week.
No, they would have shot us and Obama.
Yeah.
Like there's no ignoring the double standard now, because it's literally in plain view. And the one thing I will say is, like, those reporters and those news anchors for MSNBC, CNN that keep pushing it. Like, if this was a black crowd, it would be totally different.
And I'm so glad that they're saying it in the mainstream media, Mars, because I know we all were saying it at home. But then when Joe Biden said it, and the people were so upset when he said it.
Oh,
the white.
And see that's the thing about leadership and about that position. I mean, we said for years, the things Trump say matters. And oh no, he just saying that stuff. Don't nobody really take that seriously. Don't nobody. Oh, so why Trump was saying that stuff? They were preparing for last week. Because just like I was telling Chandra earlier today, last week wasn't created 4 years ago. It was created in the beginning of Obama's presidency, when everybody didn't take the Tea Party serious.
I would say it was 2009 to be exact, Quincy, because there was a study that came out in 2009, the year after Obama was elected, talking about all the things that basically the Tea Party and the fringe Republican Party feared and were feeling, what's the word they use? Distressed about. And the things that, you know what I mean? Like, so in all the things that Trump bought into, and I was on another show earlier today, shout out to Arc Republic, and I told them this. I said, Trump is the personification of the Tea Party. And remember, people didn't want to pay attention to the Tea Party and take the Tea Party seriously when they first were coming out saying racist shit. And we were like, yo, they saying racist shit. And Democrats and Republicans are like, nobody takes them serious. They're not going to be anything. So what happened was the Tea Party found a way to infiltrate the Republican Party at large.
Well, the biggest, because the reason why I say 2008, because I think the first spokesperson for the Tea Party was Sarah Palin. And so, because you remember Sarah Palin was saying wild shit, and John McCain was looking at her sideways, like, "What the hell are you doing?" To the point, towards the end of his campaign, they wasn't even speaking anymore. They wasn't even talking to each other anymore. And when her voice became more powerful than John McCain, that's when the Republican Party was in trouble. Because I was telling China she wanted to do her own concession speech.
Mhm.
And everybody was like, the VP
not
don't
his
do
fault.
concession speech. But she became like she became Trump was at home looking like, oh, for real?
Yeah.
Let me turn up the amp on this.
Yeah.
Because what he saw was she was uneducated. She didn't know shit. All you have to do is go out there and say whatever you want to say with no facts and get away with it.
Uh-huh. If that's what the base wants to hear. Say what the base wants to hear, regardless of facts
And to
or not.
me, Sarah Palin was the beginning of that. And people and the Republican Party, they flirted with it. Now they trying to figure out how to take their party back, which I don't know if they can, because 74 million people is a lot.
And that's the thing that I would say that's the thing that the Republican Party has to reconcile now, right? Do they continue to try to be the party of Trump, or do they really try to go back to regular conservative values?
They said that's why Mitch McConnell is pretty much like he's pretty much punting the impeachment over to the Democrat Senate next week, so they could pretty much do the dirty work and get rid of it for them.
Boom. That's why he's not bringing, and that's what I was going to tell you, Sheila. The reason he's not bringing them back in session now, because he would vote for it now. I think he would vote to impeach Trump now. But if he punts it to when the Democrats are in charge, he keep his hands clean. He keep him and all of his Republican cronies' hands clean for 2024.
Like, look, it's not our fault Trump can't win in 2024. But deep down inside, they like, we glad that motherfucker's gone.
Right, because whoever else they try to put up would not be able to compete with Trump. Just period.
Yeah, but that's kind of but we already know how Trump built, so he fit to try to sabotage their ass.
Oh yeah,
from this point on out.
I can't wait to watch it.
And I want to ask y'all this, and I'll direct this question to you, Mars. Do you think, because I think what they don't realize is that these people are not just for Trump's ideals, they're more for Trump, the person, the man, than they are for his extra. So do you think the Republican Party has kind of realized, because you have people like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley who trying to be Trump light, because I think they're trying to get Trump's base once he's gone. I think that's what this whole thing was about with those two guys. But do you think that they don't understand that Trump's coalition might not transfer to the next Republican? What do you think, Mars? Do you think that his coalition will transfer to the next person with the same rhetoric? Or
Absolutely.
Do you think they're just going to be sycophants to Trump?
Absolutely not. It'll be sycophants with Trump, because today they actually did release a survey in which they asked a lot of Republicans whom would they vote for as far as the presidential candidate. And I forgot the number of people that they had, but Trump won overhandedly at 46%.
That's so scary.
And I know that's one of the biggest reasons that McConnell wants to make sure he's impeached, so he doesn't have a chance to run in 2024. Because if he is able to run in 2024, the actual Republican Party, they're going to have a problem.
I think the Republican Party has a problem now.
No, they have a problem either way. I just think it's going to be a bigger problem. I agree. I think there's going to be an eternal civil war, right? Because I think, the Democrats got a civil war brewing on their hands, but it's between the progressives and the moderates. But I think this is one of them times where the Democrats not having balls is a good thing, because it's not going to get too ugly. On the other side, the Republicans, shit's about to get real for them between the Trumpers and I guess you would call them now, the classic conservatives. You know what I mean?
Like Mitt Romney and
The thing, what's interesting about that whole situation is that within the next couple of weeks, with Liz Cheney again going against the grain of Trumpians, she's actually picked up a lot of support for dollars into her, I don't know, not campaign, but dollars into her. Right. So it'll be very interesting to see as she starts to create and get more momentum and more companies backing her, how these other individuals react, knowing that they will want big business behind them.
Yeah, it's gonna really be an interesting time for the Republicans. And so let's talk about the impeachment real quick. Chandra, take us through what's happening with the impeachment. Look, we always get you right when you got some grub in your mouth. Let's take us through the impeachment proceedings and what they were, what's going on. What do you foresee happening? Because I know some of the people saw that he was impeached today, but of course, I want us to explain a little further about the next processes and what you think is going to happen and how this whole thing is going to, shake out.
Okay, well, like I said, I first wanted to just briefly talk about the 25th because I know everybody was kind of hanging their hat on that, and you guys know that came about when things started happening with presidents resigning, getting shot, assassinated, incapacitated in office. So they came up with this like, hey, this is the line of succession. So if the president dies, resigns, or removes from office or whatever, this is what happens. There's 4 sections. And the whole time that the amendment has been, since it's been in the Constitution, it's only been used 6 times. And Section 1 has been used once, Section 2 twice, and Section 3 times. And Section 3 is more of like a medical thing, like when they go under anesthesia or whatever. Section 4 is the one that they were trying to go for, and that's never been used. It's kind of hard because you have to, they would have to decide. It allows the vice president and the executive officers, which are his cabinet, to declare the president unable to do his job. One thing that was happening was a lot of his cabinet were resigning, so they wouldn't even have to. They couldn't do that. Number one. Number two, because they were resigning and they were acting members of his cabinet, secretaries who were not confirmed by the Senate, that was another caveat in how they get to make that decision. So you guys know, how I feel about Trump and all this stuff. So I'm not saying this from a defense standpoint. I'm saying this from a technological, literal standpoint. So because they were not confirmed by the Senate, they're like, they don't even know if they even have the power to do that.
Right.
Pence could have been like, hey, dude is nuts. You need to get him out of here. And then he would be like, no, I'm not. And then Pence would be like, yeah, you are. But then the cabinet would have the cabinet would agree. He don't even have a full cabinet. He's never had a full administration. So that's why Pence was like, constitutionally, it doesn't even. And then you can't just at any point. We all are looking at this guy on TV doing and saying that stuff. We've been doing this for 4 years. Right. So 25th could have been evoked before he was even inaugurated. To be honest, if that's what we're looking at, but we have no medical basis straight up to say, well, so that's why the 25th was out. Okay. So today I actually spent the afternoon listening to the speeches, and they were basically debating on whether or not to vote on impeachment. Impeachment, you get impeached in the House. Once you get impeached in the House, then it goes to the Senate. And the Senate are the ones who vote for removal. Okay, that's the process. So that's why they did the 25th thing, because they felt like they had to do everything before, go through the steps.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the biggest reasons that Pence said he wouldn't be able to do it, because you would literally have to have the doctors sign off on him.
Yeah, like you have to, I can't declare you, you could look like you're doing insane stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's crazy, but there's no,
clinical diagnosis.
There's no clinical thing. There's no, you can't, after that, you have to say he cannot do his duties. Again, it's obvious to us that he's nuts and what he's doing, but technically what he was going through with the Constitution, he was like, I don't have that power. He basically said, I didn't invoke a power they were trying to get me to do with the Electoral College, so I'm not going to do that this time. Like, that's basically kind of what he said, which he was actually correct. He sent out a letter to Nancy Pelosi, and that's where I'm getting this information. Okay, so then today they voted for they debated, they talked about their sides. Y'all may or may not be surprised. Like, nowadays, nothing surprises me, but these people who you would have thought would have really felt some type of way, being gas masked, life threatened, all that stuff, got up there, made excuses for this fool.
Nope.
Whatever. They needed 217 votes in order to impeach him. There were 10 Republican votes, which they've never had, a bipartisan vote for any impeachment procedures. It's been done 3 times prior. One, of course, was less than 13 months ago with this dude, also historical. But last time, no Republican voted to impeach him, so they feel like that's kind of a historical situation. But anyway, it's just going through the steps of the process. There's 2 ways that a president could be removed. One is the 25th, which they tried that one, and the other one is the Congress situation, which is what they're trying to do. So now that that's out of the way, the next step is for it to go to the Senate. Now, y'all have talked about what you guys think as far as the reasons behind. I think that the Republicans right now, their civil war is between the Trump supporters who like we don't need to wear our hoods, and the ones who let's wear our hoods. Like we still wearing our hoods, y'all. Come on. So that's where the problem is. So that's their infighting. So I think Mitch McConnell is trying to be like, come on, he's trying to hang on to as much power as he can. Now, saying this to say, the average time spent on an impeachment trial in the 3 different times, including his, was 45 days. Some were less, 2 were less, 1 was more. So to be, fair, legal, and if we're using things that we rarely use, we can't expect to say, hey, again, although we all watched this unfold before our eyes, we watched these tweets, we've been seeing all of this stuff, for that process to unfold completely within a week. Joe Biden did make that comment. If it was 6 or 7 months prior to the, this, then yes, y'all go for it. Do what you can. We know how they rushed Ruth Bader Ginsburg's replacement, although that's actually not necessarily comparable because they need to have witnesses. They need to have all kinds of stuff. They're doing FBI's doing investigations and they have infiltrations and all that stuff that they want to, because when they impeach him, he gets like he's not like when they remove him, even though he's out of office, is nothing. It's like he was never the president. The only thing he gets, Sheila, and I did see that after and talk to Twins too, is the Secret Service. But all that other pension, all the other benefits, because right now each president takes on a cause. So because each president takes on a cause, like be it Jimmy Carter does Habitat for Humanity. I'm not sure what President Obama does yet, because he does a little bit of everything. But
his best life.
He does. But they do, like, they pay for their offices. President Bush, he does immigration, like he's really passionate about that. So they pay for their offices, they pay for staff and for a certain amount of time. They pay for like $1 million travel expense. So all these things the taxpayers pay for. So when people are thinking, well, he's going to be gone, it doesn't matter. No, we want to make sure we're not paying for this food for the rest of our lives. Like, bad enough, we got to give him Secret Service. So that's on that. So no matter my take on it, now that I've been kind of through the procedural things, no matter what happens, I do think that they just need to go, they need to go through with it as long as it takes. Joe Biden said, hey, do y'all impeachment and do the people's business. If y'all can walk and chew gum, I don't have a problem with it. He came out and said that statement after the impeachment. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that either.
Ron, what do you see as far as what's going to be next for the Republican Party, and how do you see the Democrats taking advantage of this moment?
That's interesting. I think it's really gonna shake down to what happens with Trump. If Trump goes to jail, the Republicans may decide to get their shit in order. But if he doesn't go to jail, I think people are just going to try to sweep this under the rug, as it was just, the country going through COVID and it was just a pandemic and everyone's all up in arms. But reality is that I think it's a perfect time for the Democrats to kind of use their advantage, come together on the things that they have in common and kind of set aside the things that aren't in common for right now. So for the Republicans, they need to get a black agenda. They need to bring some people of color in to be able to help push that agenda. If not, they're going to lose to just demographics over the course of the next 10 to 20 years. And as for Democrats, having power doesn't mean you know what to do with it. And so it's time for them to start learning what to do because I honestly don't see them losing anytime soon, at least for the next 2 terms, in order. Now, if somebody just comes out the woodworks that we never heard of for the Republicans, that's going to change the world, maybe. But as far as I'm concerned, Biden and Kamala have it over the next two terms. And with that said, they need to put the laws in order, or put the people in place to put the laws in order to be able to put us in a position to start changing our trajectory. Anytime you try to take away someone's power, it's going to be the reaction. And so I just want everyone to understand that it's only going to get worse. Once Biden comes in, they say that the kid raper and Kamala, the black jail person, and they use all these things to try to knock us off of course. We just have to stay resolute that this was the plan we chose, and we're going to now push behind them and see what we can get done.
I agree with that. So Sheila, let me ask you, how do you feel about them being able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, right? Do you think they will be able to do impeachment and also make sure they're doing a thing that matters to America at this moment and getting relief together for COVID, getting PPE and stuff together for COVID, trying to get these numbers down? Do you think it's wise to try to handle these both at the same time?
I think it's possible for them to do it, but I mean, a lot of things are possible. It doesn't make it ideal. I think it would be just a lot smarter to focus on getting this country back together. That as soon as Trump leaves office, he's facing charges from the state of New York anyway. So he still has a great chance of going to jail. It's not like we'd still have to pay for his, Secret Service and all that if he's in jail in New York. So I feel like the country is more of a priority than trying to go after Trump with this impeachment right now. Because to tell you the truth, I know that it looks cute that they're trying to start the process. I don't have a lot of faith in a conviction. If you had asked me this literally yesterday, I would have said, oh yeah, they're going to convict him. But seeing how the House voted just to even get here, that it was still like, that wasn't enough of a margin for me. What was it? It was like 232 to 100. You still had 197 people down for like that. Kind of shakes the like I'm finding myself in this situation where when you're younger and you get those boyfriends that are blatantly doing stuff and like a cheater in your face and be like, no, it wasn't. Like, I just saw you with this chick. No, you didn't. Like, that's like with Trump's world, that's how I feel. It's stuff that I'm looking at. Like to Chandra's point, when she was just talking about in Pence's letter, to me, I feel like we have proof that he is completely mentally unhinged. I think any psychiatrist could diagnose him easily. Why is that not a possibility? Like, I get, the intimidation. I get that people are still scared, but it's just very confusing to me to hear people saying America first and America, and then do this much to destroy the country that you claim to love so much. So
I think a lot of it goes to what Quincy said, though, right? They love America in their form, in their fashion. Yes. They love America under that systemic way. Now they feel that it's slipping. And to Ron's point, if Stacey Abrams is able to continue to build the Democratic coalition the way she is, the Republicans are going to be hard pressed to win a lot of things soon. And that's Congress and the House and the presidency. Like, if she continues to build the coalition the way she is, the Republicans can be in trouble. And if new voters continue to be educated on the process, I think one of the worst things that happened for the Republican Party was us watching and sitting through this process this whole time and really learning about how voting works, really learning how the Electoral College uses our votes to count the Electoral College, and how, because some people really was on that our vote don't count, it's just the Electoral College, so it's not the will of the people. But as you watched, literally every vote counted to give the Electoral College those votes to go put in, so you can see that the will of the people was done. Go ahead.
One point is the reason why the House voted the way they did, because you had 140 representatives who backed Trump on the false election. So if they voted against him today, it's almost like they convict themselves, because they still backed him after they still went in there when they had to certify the votes. They still were saying that the election was stolen. So they couldn't vote against them today because they would have been kind of indirectly also condemning themselves from last week. But to Dane's point, I think that, and I was telling Chandra this, I think that's the fear, because the white nationalist, the white supremacist thinking is starting to fall into the minority. And that's why, despite Joe Biden had the most votes than any president candidate ever. You know who's number 2?
Donald Trump.
Trump. So even at their max performance of all-time high, 74 million votes for a Republican candidate, they still lost. So it shows that if, and I told Chandra, I said the worst thing ever happened to them, a couple of things, is that Trump made folks go educate themselves.
Yep.
Because that's why Mitch McConnell is mad. Like, you didn't cost me the House and the Senate in 4 years.
Yeah.
And because Mitch McConnell, he had it right? Look, we're going to block all this shit and then watch everybody blame Obama.
Still.
Because folks wasn't educated. Like, okay, yeah, we blocking everything because we got this shit going on. And then Trump, his racism was so out. Folks was like, wait a minute. So that's why we couldn't get nothing done, because we got to get the House and we got to get the Senate. So once we start coming out for those elections, now
it started with the midterms.
Yeah.
Before even the general. It started with that last midterm.
Yeah. So Mitch McConnell is kind of mad at Trump for waking us up.
Right.
Because Trump woke us up, because we didn't show up on midterms. We didn't show up.
It was the best thing that happened for Black people. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Like, it's the first time you've ever heard our agenda discussed in presidential debates.
Yep.
You remember how Bush messed things up so bad that he laid the groundwork for Obama to be able to walk in? Trump has messed it up so bad we could get Stacey Abrams in 2024. Like, he done jacked up everything so bad. Like, he's opened more doors for us.
Well, yeah, because he made us get educated. Folks have to figure out, because the Republicans had it. It's like, you mean for 6 years we blocked shit of Obama 8 years and they blaming him? We good. we gonna roll with that.
And we didn't pay attention to politics.
Yeah, Then Trump woke people up. Folks was like, oh, wait a minute. So in order to do this, in order to check Trump, we got to have a Democratic House. Oh, so the Democrats can impeach him, but the Senate got to convict him. So now we got to get a Democratic Senate. So it made folks, he made folks go out there. And Chandra had mentioned earlier that us being in the pandemic didn't hurt, because it just made people sit at home and study. They said the news is outdoing sports as far as ratings. On the way here, people had couple people had their window open. Every TV that I drove by was on CNN. So folks are getting more aware, more educated, and I think more than anything, that's what the Republican Party is mad at him about, because he woke people up.
I mean, we said back in 2016, we said, listen, if Hillary would have won, Black people would have kept sleepwalking. If Hillary would have won, it would have been business as usual, and we would not have been trying to press the Black agenda. We would have not been at this place where, Sheila said, the Black agenda has been talked about in presidential debates. Reparations is a word you never would have thought you would hear in a presidential debate on national television. If Hillary would have won, I don't think we end up here. So as horrible as Trump was, I said, this is what we needed as a people.
Yeah.
Because I have never had this many Black folks engaged in politics, this many Black folks hitting my inbox, asking me certain questions, wanting to talk to me. And, I say this all the time, but I say this because I want us to be able to lead and love. If you have the information and you know much more than your counterparts, you don't have to make them feel like it. Please Make them feel welcome to ask you questions. Make them feel welcome to learn the process. Make them want to learn the game from you. You know what I'm saying? Like Tariq said, teach me the game, Ghost. And that's how we gotta be. You know what I mean?
No,
For real,
like absolutely, because we are definitely here. No matter what they're trying to do, we are here. So we have to learn what we have to, and I think that's what's happening. Stacey Abrams, she didn't figure it out how to get people out there. We figured out. Let's get some more of our members in Congress. Let's figure it out, because even though people are saying they're doing better personally, maybe savings wise, maybe for whatever reason, again, I think we're still on that trickle down from, trickle down economy from President Obama. But we could argue that people are doing better personally, but people feel overall overwhelmingly that the country is worse. And you need to look at that, because that's saying something. I feel like I'm doing better. So we know how selfish people are. I'm doing better personally. I'm doing better not working. I'm doing better, whatever in the pandemic. But the country is in shambles. It reminds me of that meme where that dog is like sitting at the table, like everything's on fire all around. Like, I'm good, but over there is bad.
Well, I think that goes to what Sam said, where he said we had a perfect storm, because I think sitting at home, seeing George Floyd, seeing all the social injustices that were happening, seeing all of those things that have been going on in the country, and you couldn't run away from it, you couldn't escape from it, so you couldn't pretend that it doesn't affect you, you couldn't pretend that you didn't see it. I think having all of those things happen, I think that's how you get to an awakening of Black folks, not only on this, because I tell people we need both sides, right? We need the people out there protesting and making noise, but we also need people on the inside. And if you start to look at not just the general election, but you even look at the local level, right? You look at the amount of people we have running for local elections that probably wouldn't have. I think Trayvon Martin's mom ran. I think, so people like that, you have more activists going on the inside. And then the flip side of that, you have people like Tamika Mallory helping Stacey Abrams build these huge coalitions of voters. So, where Tamika Mallory is known as a disruptor, she has found a way to be a disruptor on the outside and now a disruptor on the inside. And I think we need all of that, because so many times we talk about keeping it separate, because you be like, oh, you on the inside, you part of the system. And then you had the people in the system talking about, well, you just out there rioting and marching. But I'm like, listen, we need to stop that and understand we need both sides to push us forward. You need Martin and Malcolm. You need Medgar and James Baldwin. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need all of those parts and all of those pieces to work together, because I guarantee you, if there hadn't been that unrest in the summer, you wouldn't have this many people saying, all right, we need to put some legislation on the table to handle this shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those things, they all kind of work together for the greater good. Kirk said Stacey Abrams registered. That's incredible. 800,000 voters in Georgia.
No, she did that.
Stacey Abrams.
She did that. She did that between November and January.
Election day, while we were watching this clowning, she was like, we got work to do. Yep. We're still, and this is, Biden had just, she was like, okay, get out and vote. So yes, she absolutely did. But something we haven't talked about yet, and it sometimes it becomes a factor, is those independent voters. And a lot of times the Republicans, they gravitate towards them. And that's another thing that they kind of have to deal with separately in their states as well as in general, because they're kind of floating around right now. Yeah. I want to go to Sam's comment, and this is very true. And me and Ron talk about this often. That's very important. Is over the next few years, we got to see results from this election. There has to be impact, because that will be the thing that will hurt the Democratic Party largely. Is that we came out, we gave you a House, we gave you Senate, House, and the presidency, and you still didn't have our back and give us some of the things that we needed. If they don't come through with some of the things, they are going to lose a lot of voters. They're going to lose a lot of that coalition they just built up.
But you know what about that is we don't have it as much as people think. It's still a tiebreaker. So you get one of the moderates that go left or right, shit ain't gonna pass. So it's still a lot more work.
I agree, it's still a lot more work, but I feel like that's different.
You got it's closer, and it gives us more of a edge, but you got people like Elizabeth Warren, who said she wasn't going to vote for the waiver for the military guy, and they gave that to General Mattis. I know y'all probably don't know what I'm talking about, but you like,
I know what you're talking about.
Get the person in. So we're talking about getting somebody in, like appointing his people. So if they arguing as simple as that, we like, okay, y'all, come on, you know.
And we talking about a tiebreaker, and like I said, you still have moderate senators in the House, and you remember they just lost some House seats, so they didn't gain it in the House in November. So you still have to get more in the right people in there. Like you got to have the advantage that they had in Obama's term. Like I don't want a tiebreaker. Like I don't want Kamala to have to come in and hope that we like, because you got some senators that's from Arizona and they only became Democrats because of Trump. So if the
I get that, but I feel like we shouldn't start making excuses for them now. I feel like regardless,
I don't think, but no,
it's not excuses, but you have to be
like
realistic though.
It's like a mathematical real thing, but I don't think that it's gonna be what. Okay, I think this is what he's saying. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as like, oh, we got everything, let's get it all in, blah blah blah. I think it's gonna be some real like, it has to be so. This is basically it. Okay. When the party has control over the House or the Senate, all those committees that y'all see, their senior members are chairs. So Bernie is the chair of the
financial.
Money.
He's financial.
So Bernie, y'all know where Bernie wants. He's looking for our money. So those type of agendas are able to be pushed first. How Mitch is holding all those bills, that's no longer going to be. So all those things are going to be easier to get to the floor and push. Now, if we seen that they pushing stuff and not voting for stuff, then that's a problem. But a 50-50 tie is not, it's as ideal as we could have gotten. Let's just say that was best case scenario for what we had.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like it's ideal for, but what I'm saying is also because of that, we have to hold their feet to the fire. We can't, I feel like I'm not giving them no leeway. Yeah, if we got to use that 50-50 tie every single time, or if they got some of those moderates who want to vote the other way, then we need to either get their ass out of there because it's got to be feet to the fire time.
But see, Democrats. The point that I'm making is you're talking about Democrats that's in Arizona and West Virginia. So if you become disappointed because how Democrat who are not true to me, they're not really Democrats because they only became Democrats because of Trump. And Arizona and West Virginia, and then you go, well, we ain't gonna come out in the midterm in places that you should get your more progressive seats in, then we're gonna be right back to square one.
I get it, but that's what I'm saying. That's why they got to figure out a way to go hard. Like this is where they got to wheel and deal in Washington. This is where they got to wheel and deal. Because because you can't say, hold on, let me say this. Because
we got
this whole time
at this point.
Exactly. That's the whole time. Remember, the whole reason they told us everybody had to go out and vote in Atlanta because that's what we need to get Joe Biden the Senate. That was the whole selling point this whole time was we got to get these 2 seats so we can get the Senate and we'll have the Senate majority. So if they do that, and then now they turn around and say, well, we kind of got the Senate majority, but that's already turn to people.
Who was saying that? Who was saying that? Because
all the Democratic leaders,
not the Democrats in Arizona, not the Democrats in West Virginia, because and look, and Warnock's seat is up. Ossoff is in for 6 years. Warnock got to go back and run again. So that's why I said we can't continue to have this hot and cold relationship because the same shit is going to happen. There's going to be progression.
Hold on. This is why we had this hot and cold relationship, though, because when the Democrats do get that power, they don't look out for us. And I think we realize that. And I think now we're saying like, yo, we're not going to keep coming out and keep getting y'all power. And then we are the ones who are left in the cold every single time.
Okay.
Well, the good thing about it is nowadays we see what they do. It is better than not having it, but we see what they do when people don't vote. They got those ones who voted against the other. They list those people. They let us know this is how they voted. They let us know who are the 10 people who voted for impeachment. Who are the 10 Republicans that voted for impeachment? That is how we're able to hold their feet to the fire. Just from that standpoint. So that's all you can do. You definitely need to You definitely can demand, and hey, I said y'all gonna do this. What's going
And
on?
see, we could coordinate as early as June, and then do what Cube acted like he was trying to do at the end of last year. We could start talking in June, like, hey, if we don't see results, we will all come together and sit the fuck down when it comes down to this next election.
How
Right,
so?
but at the
Get some
same
stuff
time,
done if
at the
you need
same,
to earn our votes.
See,
at the
see,
same time, when you look at the
see,
okay,
see, to me, that's why we're never going to get to where we need to be, because if so Dame said Democrats get in, they don't do nothing, right? So they got in the 60s, Democrats did something. We didn't come back, and Republicans dominated the next 20 years of politics, all the way until Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got in, more black people bought houses, black people benefited off the economy. We didn't come back after that. Bush took over the next 8 years. Obama get in, we already know his first 2 years. He had a 6-year Republican House and Senate. We let Trump come in, everything Obama did, we right back to building it back up. Instead of having this mentality, okay, we don't get everything we want at this time. How about, okay, we'll just replace those folks to get the right people in.
right.
Because we're going to keep completely.
That sets us up for never getting what we want.
No,
I agree. I agree.
no.
Rod.
That sets us up for never getting what we want.
No, we've had this discussion. The problem is that every region is different and every region has their wants. It needs to be simplified where there's a universal demand that fits with each region. That's how we get, because
Well,
once
that's
you get
that's always poverty. That's poverty. Like the universal demand is always poverty.
So since we don't get everything that we want, and
Well, hold on. Let's stop. Not everything. Hold on.
We
Not
didn't say
everything.
that. Yeah, we didn't say
We didn't
that.
say everything.
We
You
didn't
don't
say
get
that.
shit. Like I ain't gonna say everything. No, we don't get shit.
because like Mara said, certain regions are going to be looking for certain things. So when that particular region of black
COVID,
folks
$2,000.
don't
certain things that everybody needs.
So when that particular group of black folks don't get what they want, and Warnock is up, because I'm sure there's gonna be a more experienced Republican that's gonna run against him. You put this notion, we just gonna sit home. Once you lose his seat, McConnell back in charge again, and Biden 2 years is done. His last 2 years of his presidency is gonna be done.
But that's what we need to throw in with the threat. I'm not talking about going in with like a tantrum, like, we just gonna stay home. We can approach them intelligently and say, hey, you see how this is going. If you don't want a situation where Mitch is back in control, you need to work some things out.
Well, they don't give a damn. That hurts us. How about if you don't vote the right way, we'll have another Democrat that we do like run against you.
But how you know that Democrat gonna do what you want?
That's why you push people right now. You don't wait till like, okay, that's why T.I. and Killer Mike, they push those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
They got behind those dudes and they push those dudes. But this, okay, you already know the Republicans don't have whatever progression that is done. They have no problem going back retro and wiping all that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
I think that what we have to be very realistic, and like Ron said, $2,000 get COVID. I mean, I think that's some basic stuff that will help all of us, and we're, let's get the back. But that's what they said that they wanted to do. That's what Joe Biden said that he wanted to do. He's had his first 100 days stuff up already, and I think what Joe Biden did too.
But look, Chandra, check this out. So even that. So we talking about you talking about Warnock, right? And say that they ran off of, you get us in, we'll get you $2,000 and we'll get the COVID, relief plan. You already got Democrats balking at the $2,000.
Well, no, in the beginning, the reason that was already going to get
those conservative areas that I was talking about. That's why.
But remember, another problem with that was Bernie said that they had the votes. That's why Mitch didn't want to bring it to the table in the gate. We got $600. So it's all politics. So how we choose to hold their feet to the fire, that's what makes a difference.
My strategy is this. Because that was Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is feeling himself now because now he's the swing voter. That's why I said I don't like tiebreakers. because Joe Manchin, who is a Democrat in West Virginia, which is Trump territory, he feel like he has some power because he's a swing voter now. That's why I think in the midterm, you have to go get seats in areas where it's more of us. So if any of those other seats that's in Arizona, that's in West Virginia, that where we don't really trust those Democrats, you still got the insurance of places where you know where people could come through for you. Because if you lose, let's say for instance, I think Florida could be taken if it's done right.
Yeah.
You gain seats in Florida, you bring back Warnock, and let's say somebody who, somebody, a Democrat loses in Ohio. You still got the insurance that you need in those key places. Because
we see what we're discussing here, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, Q, but like at some point we have to see what we're discussing. We're discussing a system that's basically designed to never give, because the way it's set up, that like you almost have to have the super team to win in this. Like for us,
Yes.
Now for the rich to win, it's for some reason they don't need everything. They figure out ways without having House seats, without having Senate, without having a president. For the poor people and the people that are trying to overcome oppression, it's like, damn, you got to have the president, the House, the Senate, a 10-point lead, 28-3 in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's like, this is what's discouraging to people who are always on that fence. I get it that people who are totally into politics, that have the time and the knowledge to understand it, you see that. You're trying to convince people who don't really have that time to really say, so they say, okay, I did the job, I weighed 8 hours, I voted, I got the Senate in, I did all these things you said we should do. And now you're saying we still we're going to get backlash from that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but I'm just saying we're going to get backlash from that.
But that's how they were able to get things done in the 60s. Because they stay consistent. That's why things was able to get done. That's why Stacey Abrams could just say, "Look, fuck it, it's what it is." She on the verge of turning Georgia at least purple. You could pretty much say Georgia is purple right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if we continue to put, you have a pastor from Dr. King's church and a dude that was mentored by John Lewis that just won Trump territory. If we continue to put more in that effort, because I think it's gonna. If we want the change that we really want, I think we're gonna have to really stack the deck. But I also think the Republicans are more vulnerable than they have ever been before right now.
Exactly, which is to my point is we have to try to find a way to take advantage of them, this moment, and everything that's happening right now. Because, like Sam said a little earlier, the inexperienced voters not gonna have the nuance to all that. All the experienced voters is gonna know is they told us they was gonna give us $2,000 and they didn't. I'm done. And we can pretend that that's not gonna be the case, but you know that's gonna be the case.
That's reality.
Yeah, like that. The reality is, if there are the basic things that the Democratic Party said they were gonna do if they got certain seats, and then now they like, oh, we can't do it. Joe Manchin, and we got a couple of the inexperienced voter, the people who aren't nuanced like us in politics, they don't want to hear that shit. All they know is they didn't get the $2,000 that they were promised. They didn't get the Medicare for all that they were promised. They didn't get the things that Biden ran on, that Kamala ran on, and that Warnock and Ossoff ran on, because they kind of made that Georgia run. They made that a national race too. They had, you know what I'm saying? Like they literally had all eyes on Georgia for if we get these things, these are the things the Democrats will be able to do.
That's why fair, they haven't even, we don't know. They might be very successful. I think we can.
Right.
The thing is, people have to educate themselves, because what could happen is your representative could vote for the $2,000. But if somebody else in another state representative doesn't vote for $2,000, it doesn't get passed. So now you're not going to vote for your representative the next midterm. That's the type of thing that continue to go on, and that's why we don't go with it. That's the point I'm making.
But you're using full context, though, Quincy. You're using full context, though. They don't have that full context. They only have context. You told us to go sit our ass out there for 8 hours, vote this person in, and this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
Everybody was kumbaya, and I'm not arguing with you, Quincy. All I'm saying is you have to see both sides of it and like understand, okay, we're dealing with non-rational people here.
It's like
And
you got.
with that said, just say, okay, we're going to get you to 2,000. I mean, I think that's the most important, And
I
then
think
we'll
they're
work
going to
with
do it.
and
They
then
haven't
we'll
even
work
been inaugurated yet.
Yeah, it's like you guys are
But
acting
how
like.
we're sounding like everyone's like, it ain't gonna happen. Like,
Hey,
prepare
Rob,
No,
can we
not
yourself.
just get
at all.
the sentence out?
Prepare yourself. It ain't gonna happen.
It's like you guys are acting like, the Democrats that were in office haven't been doing stuff. They've been trying to push stuff. It's just that they have a roadblock in the name of McConnell that is unable to get some of the bills in which they're pushing to the floor. So, the
Everyone
question,
gets that though, Mars. Everyone on this show that's sitting
right?
here gets
But
it.
the thing
It's
about,
who do we get to that 50% that don't get that? We get that message to them.
Oh, I want to address Rebecca said we can't keep using ignorance. Look, baby, this is the reality. I'm talking about the
We have
reality of
poverty.
everyday, the reality of everyday people who are not 100% into politics the way we are. This is. I'm just trying to give y'all the thought process of the people who are on the ground who are just like, all right, y'all told me to come out and vote
Working
because A, B, and
jobs.
C. Yeah, so I want
okay,
I want A, B, and C. They don't want to hear. Well, there's some conservative Democrats who not going to vote for it because, like you said, Quincy, even if it's somebody in West Virginia who votes against it, the people in Atlanta, those people in Atlanta who came out and they didn't get their $2,000 after they came out, they gonna feel like, oh, y'all, the Democrats lied to us. It's the same old, same old. So I'm just trying to give y'all that side of how
right,
shit looks to them.
right.
And what was said.
That's why you just don't ask for their vote. You break it down to them. You explain it to them because you don't turn your back on Warnock and Ossoff because they actually voted what they told you that they was going to vote for, and because it doesn't pass because somebody in 3 states over doesn't vote. Now you're not going to show up for the people who actually voted for what you voted for. That's how Republicans have the House and the Senate for 8 years, 12 years, damn near.
But see, we're not talking
Stacey
about
Abrams
situations
wasn't
like
around.
that
I
where
don't
they're
think
really
that'll ever
all
happen
trying to
again.
do the job and just not get in. We're
But
talking
No,
about
that's
situations
what people do.
where they're kind of doing the job and doing that reach across the aisle shit, and
Right.
everything is a unreasonable compromise.
But
Like
well, the
Okay,
conversation,
come in and gangster up like these Republicans do, and put their balls on the table and ask for what they want and gangster their way in to getting what they want. I want to see
well,
some more gangster from the Democrats.
well,
okay. Here's the. I see.
the conversation started with, if they don't do stuff, Democrats need to do stuff. They got the House and the Senate and the
Yeah.
presidency. I want to see them doing stuff or else. That's kind of how the conversation started. So to
Yeah.
your point, yes, I agree. Like, okay, but it also ties into what Quincy said. If I see my people, they'll put your faces out, they'll put the wall of shame up fast. Tell us who voted for that 2,000, who didn't. So I'm like, okay, well, my person voted for it. I understand. But then they're saying like they don't want to hear that. They just want it passed because this is what y'all said that y'all were going to do. So there has to be some type of, knowledge of, hey, like this is the point of even trying to educate people of this is what's happening. Again, they haven't even been
Or
in
just be
office
honest
yet.
with them, Shane.
Here,
Yeah.
Just be honest with them. Just say something like this effect. We would like you to help us push these people in the Senate, but understand that does not guarantee that we're going to get what we see. And that's the part that's being left out. So we're kind of
Well,
telling people, people that understand
when
they
people
know
run for
that's not
when
100%
people
true.
back in junior high when people were running and telling us they were going to get us free popsicles at lunchtime, y'all voted for them, and they didn't get us no free popsicles at lunchtime.
mhm.
Okay,
Well,
it's
this ain't
politics.
middle school.
Went to public
This
I
ain't
know,
school.
but
middle school.
I'm saying though, but
Well,
is it?
this ain't
Is
middle
it not?
school.
Is it not though? Did you watch
But
the proceedings today? Maybe you might want to rethink that. I think
That
it
was
is middle.
elementary. That was elementary.
It was
I
very
see.
okay. Good point. Good point.
I see.
But
I
no,
see where you're coming from, Dame, and I think we've had this discussion, and it kind of connects with what we've spoken about in the past. Within that first 100 days, I think with Biden's plan within that first 100 days, it'll be showing that the Democrats are doing something. So it allows there to be a little bit more belief and paying attention and support for the Democrats as they're doing things within that 100 days. The three things that we spoke about. that stimulus check, the vaccine distribution, and then the economy growing. Those three things will allow people to suddenly start feeling like, okay, I can get behind the Democrats because I see these things affect me, and this affects me in every single region.
Even some of those Trump supporters.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, see, the way you get Trump support is, like you said, if you get the vaccine distribution and you get the get COVID under control enough to open the world back up, that'll be the biggest win for the Democrat Party in this session. If you can get that, if you can get COVID under control somehow, or at least halfway, because it's to me right now, it's not even halfway under control. It's just out of control, right? So if you can get some semblance of control for that and get most of the economy backed up and get a lot more things back to normal, that's how you get some of the Trump supporters.
Right.
Oh, I wouldn't even say Trump support. That's how you get some of the real conservatives. That's how you get some of the moderate Republicans. I would say that because I think a lot of the Trump supporters are far gone. But I would say a lot of the real Republicans, I think that's how you get some of them on board. But again, to my point is,
At least 10 million of them.
Yeah, at least 10 million. And my thing is, like, I'm saying this for those of us who aren't into political science, some things comes down to brass tacks for us, right? Some things comes down to, like you just said, Quincy, even now, till this day, people still blame Obama for not doing nothing for black people with all the information out there, even watching and seeing and knowing what Mitch McConnell has done and watching what he's done these last 4 years, even under Trump, not bringing bills to the floor. Because there's people we talk to who fancy themselves in the know, who don't even know about the 275 bills that the Democrats have drawn up that Mitch McConnell wouldn't even bring to the floor. There's people who I speak to who claim to know about politics or who are really into politics who don't even know about the police reform bill that Barack Obama had that never made it. That people that are into politics who don't know about the super extensive immigration reform bill that the Biden Obama administration had. There's people who don't know about all those things who still like Barack Obama didn't do shit. And I'm just saying there's more people on that side of the aisle. There's more people in that group than people like us who know all the nuance, who know all the bills, who know the bills that didn't make it, who know why those bills didn't make it, who know why bills weren't voted on. It's so many people who thought once Trump is impeached, he's out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people didn't know that impeachment came with impeachment and a trial and conviction in the Senate. They just like he impeached. He ain't the president.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
And that's what I'm saying. So I don't even want to say it's just ignorance. I think it's just a lot of people aren't privy to a lot of this information. Yeah, because it hasn't affected their lives personally, or they like, unlike us, they don't have a podcast where it behooves them to go and learn all of this information and educate themselves on it. So I'm trying to speak to the everyday people who has a limited amount of knowledge about the nuance of the way Washington works, because the reason Trump was able to do what he wanted to do, because just like we talking about a lot of people not voting for the Democrats out of ignorance, Trump was able to do what he was able to do out of ignorance, because he was able to get up there and say whatever the hell he wanted to say, tell a lie, push it, because of their ignorance, because they didn't know, because of those things. So he was able to take advantage of that ignorance on the other side. And to Ron's point, there are things that the Republicans do when they're in power to make sure that they stay in power, even when they don't have the numbers and they're not supposed to be in power.
Yeah,
and these
are gerrymandering.
Yeah, so these are the things I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? These are the things I'm talking about. The Democrats have to take advantage of reversing that gerrymandering shit. They have to take advantage of the redistricting, because if you do the gerrymandering, not gerrymandering, but if you reverse some of the gerrymandering and change some of the redistricting, then I have more. I feel more confident that they'll be able to get more people in the Senate and in the House, because those lines will be changed and those lines will be drawn. Because there's a lot of places that senators are becoming Republican because of the way they drew those lines, and they should have never been Republican.
Yeah, and that's a big part why Stacey Abrams trying to get to become governor, because because when you're governor, you could dictate those districts. And Jerry, I mean, that's pretty much after Obama won North Carolina, they said that won't ever happen again.
I'll say the biggest lesson that we take away from Stacey Abrams is keep complaining about the game. Just learn the game and flip it. Like that's it. You can sit at home and complain about the game, or you could learn the game and flip.
Yeah. Because what
It is
she's
rigged,
doing
though.
is
It's
she's like,
not a.
I'm going
It's
to
like
register as much as my people as possible because the next time I run again, I'm going to have my people out there voting. And if I could push my people, then I'll beat you that way.
But you know what? There's so many different, and again, it's all about, we can't keep using that. Well, somebody said that, using the excuse about not knowing, because now we got to the point where a part of doing some of the things that they do outside of some of the main things, voter suppression, illegal voter suppression, gerrymandering, redistricting, and all that stuff, illegal. Well, those are things we aren't going to do because that messes us up. That takes our people. We can't do that. We can't do those things. But we got the time where certain things happen. When do they start being able to redistrict and bring these bills to the table? Census time. Who was empowered 10 years ago? Who was empowered the previous team? So those are all the things we have to learn so that we can attack it from the other side. I said we need to go through the back door and figure it out. We have to use, we can't, that's how we have to attack it. We're doing
what we
what
want to do.
they
Though.
stopped doing.
Do we want to try to fix a broken system?
It's not trying to fix a broken system. It's saying, hey, I know what y'all are doing, because it's what they did, what the Black Panthers did. This is the law. We have the right to do this.
Correct.
What did they try to do to
change the
slaves?
law.
They didn't want us to read. They didn't want us to, I'm saying us. I don't mean that. Our ancestors to read, to learn. Yeah. They didn't want that, because what happens? For real, it's so cliche, but knowledge is power. Look at what happened this year. Look at what happened these last two elections. A little bit of knowledge got what's happening now. So we got to keep building on that and getting out as much as we can.
All right, let me address this. She said, Rebecca said Democrats were angry at Obama because they wanted him to use the bully tactics. The Republicans, I do too.
Me too.
I do too. I feel like we're in this position. Yeah, I feel like
there's certain bully tactics we could use, but again, their main things, voter suppression and all that, that's affecting us. So how do we attack that? We gonna voter suppress white people? I mean, we could try.
Yeah.
You know me, I come up with a plan for
all of the voting booths in the hood.
Yeah, you know.
I think that's all. I think they gave us one.
If that's a plan, then okay. But realize a lot of the stuff that they do, a lot of those tactics are against us. So we got to come at it from, okay, let's start.
But so for me, Chandra, no, Chandra, I agree with you. A lot of those bully tactics are against us, but I feel like in order to fight those tactics, we have to be bullies too at some point, right? Like if that's how they get down, and they've shown that they gonna get down like that no matter what. Even in the face of Trump and all this dirt he's doing, they still on they same get down.
Absolutely.
I think Obama would have been able to president differently if he came after Trump than before Trump. I think if he came after Trump, he would have been able to get away with a whole lot more than he would have before Trump. Because
so conversely, do you think that Trump was able to use his white lash power because of Obama being in there? And
no, I think Trump was able to do that because he was just white.
Okay.
Obama could have never done that, and you better believe Democrats would have impeached him. We already saw how they turned on him after his first 2 years. That's a big part why he lost the House and the Senate, because because when they thought Obamacare was crumbling, they bailed on him. Because it's not like we haven't seen Democrats show that they will bail on you. We go down a list of a couple of how they did my man. What's the senator that Sean Hannity and them set up, and they all bailed on him.
Oh, your dude, the comedian.
Yeah, so they show
that was whack.
So they show they will bail on you. They don't have this. If Obama would have been up there doing the stuff, they wouldn't have stood up for him like Jim Jordan and them just gonna ride with him like that. So I don't. And if I was Obama, I wouldn't have bit that. I wouldn't have taken that bait either. But now I think the next black president after Trump, he could be a little bit more bullying because he's like, you actually got an example of all the things that somebody else got away with. Because the examples before was a little bit more discreet. So you can't really say, you could tell people what Ronald Reagan and them did, but they didn't really see it.
Well, we need to run Obama Trump next. We need to get Obama Trump in this motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, you already kind of see Kamala being able to identify with her blackness a whole lot more than Obama was able to do.
Yeah, but I don't need Kamala going into like a session saying, "Listen up, cracker."
No, but she, I mean, she came straight out. Black folks was the one that held the Democrats. She did that in her speech.
Right.
Yeah.
Obama couldn't do that. In 2008, he would have came out. Black folks is the reason I held. They would have lost because they was already fear mongering on him back then.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like Obama kind of set the momentum where the next person can get away with a little bit more. The next person can get away with a little bit more. The person after Kamala is going to be able to get away with a lot more. Like Dame said, it'll be able to be a little bit more aggressive, in which the nation is going to be like, okay, that motherfucker is aggressive. He's getting what he wants for his party.
Well, I'm just saying we've shown that if you don't have the black vote, the Democrats don't win. So I just want them to be a little more aggressive when it comes to things that black people need, because we have saved their ass time and time and time and time again. I want to address this comment from Willie. He said we need to remove Pelosi. To be honest, she holds a lot of the Dems back. What do you guys think about that? Let's get a consensus around the table.
I concur.
I used to think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I guess for me, my question is, who would you want in place of Pelosi? Because as of now, I think she is the best person. I don't really want, not so much I don't want, but I think Chuck and her work well hand in hand. You know, to me, I think they do work well hand in hand.
I like Hakeem Jeffries.
I do like him.
I think
I do like him.
Jeffries would be a great House Speaker. He's that, he's intelligent. He got Obama, but he's a little bit more, he got a little more edge to him.
Got a lot more edge to him.
And so actually, I think he came in second place in the voting.
Oh, he did?
When they voted for
Speaker.
So Hakeem Jeffries will be I just think we have to move away from letting 80-year-old white folks.
Well, I do think this is going to be the last one.
She was a perfect. Because I go back and forth with Nancy, but I think that she's who we needed for Trump.
Yeah, he was.
She had to, and she did a good job. But I think the way that it's moving, we gotta.
Because I think Hakeem Jeffries with Trump would have been.
That would have bad.
But she, when there's 80-year-old white people, any other 80-year-old white people to speak that 80-year-old white people language.
Yeah. Because Hakeem Jeffries probably would have wanted to square up on Trump.
Yeah, I think we just need to get him out of there.
I feel like after a certain age, if you're not going to be here alive to deal with the long-term effects of decisions you're making, you shouldn't be able to serve in that office.
Right, but
I don't feel like we should be having these folks in their 80s still in any office. Like, you're not even going to be here to deal with decisions that you're making right now.
Yeah,
younger people.
The problem is when they did this years ago, people were dying when they were like 25. So
yeah,
now people are freaking 80 and running for president. So
well, I think for me, I agree. I would like Hakeem Jeffries to be the new House Speaker, and for me, the reason is because I feel like he would do a better job at bringing those progressives into the fold than Nancy has done. Because Nancy, as good as she is, she wields a lot of power, and as good as she is at operating, because I have learned, from watching her, she's really good at operating. I feel like she still has a problem because she is a part of that old white woman guard.
I think he would do a lot better with the messaging so Black folks would comprehend who is the backbone of the base. You know, when he breaks down things, every time I see him break down things, I know like those people that you talk about, that 50% that's not in the pot. The way how he talks about it in a way that they would probably get it.
Yeah, he's very straightforward.
He's
very smart. Very smart.
Straightforward to the point.
And let me jump on that. I will say this though. I do think this is going to be Nancy's last run. I do think there will be a transition of Nancy to Booker. I actually like, but I still think that she's the person for now, considering that they're still dealing with this whole Trump situation. I would like to see her handle this to the end. Put that nail in the coffin.
Start to do a better job of like mentoring people. We talked about this. Like, we can't be flailing around, you know, when it's new people. Like, you know, Maxine, Diane Feinstein, where y'all, you know, y'all old.
Yeah, she needs to go.
I don't see how Feinstein's husband is not in jail. Like, I am bewildered.
I think California.
They do so much shady stuff with like getting properties where he could be able to buy them in bulk. They drive the value down. Like, he's connected to her, but he's done like so much crooked crap.
I think she's gone.
I think she's politics.
I think she's gone her next term. Either she's gonna retire or somebody gonna run against her. I just think California has passed her era of what the party is now. If a progressive run against her here, I think she's gonna lose.
And that's what we need to make sure happens then. Like, we need to talk to the people to make sure, because not only has Feinstein, like you said, she's been out of touch for a very long time, but she's also starting to talk and say Republican shit. You know what I mean? Like, she's
the oldest senator right now. The oldest.
And that says something. So a lot of them,
and that says something because those people are old. They're very old. So the left wing is starting to cancel her, like you said.
Was she older than Chuck? What's
Chuck Schumer?
No, Chuck what's his glass?
Chuck Grassley.
Yeah, because he been a senator since like Eisenhower.
The oldest sitting senator is Dianne Feinstein, born in 1933.
So she was born during the Great Depression.
You know, maybe we need her because she was around during the Great Depression.
No, it's time to go.
Nope. It's time. She got to be out.
When she pulled that mess with Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
No, she need to go. But that was the thing they were saying about governor, that he would have to be picking two people if she retired because he already picked Kamala's person. So they were like, he shouldn't be able to pick. Shut up.
I don't care. Look at what Trump picked, whoever the hell he wanted. And so
we don't care.
Chad, this is the shit I'm talking about, though. So when the Republicans do whatever the fuck they want, they pick, they do it. When Republicans make noise about Democrats be like, yes, we have to follow the letter of the law. So we're not going to pick. They doing that bullshit.
But he don't care.
They're trying to recall him.
They've been trying to recall Gavin since his first day. He ain't going nowhere.
He's locked in here for a minute.
They're mad about. I saw a sign that said "Happy Holidays" to everybody with Gavin Newsom. Like, come on, the pandemic ain't that man's fault.
When he signed that reparations,
don't want to wear masks.
No, and then he signed that reparations bill. And then he signed the reparations bill, and he put a hold on executions, and they asked him, when are you going to lift up the, to open up the, death row to start executing people again? He's like, I'm never going to.
I'm not doing it.
Matter of fact, Joe Biden said, hey, this is crazy. So they executed a woman last night. I don't know if y'all know this. It's the first time the federal government executed a woman in like 67 years.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Because y'all know it was a moratorium on executions on a federal level for 17 years, right? Mm-hmm. Until Trump decided he wanted to start killing people in July.
Just because
I told you Satan. That's Satan's February. right there.
Biden already said he's going to put the
Put it back
moratorium.
on.
So
Somebody asked when her term was up in 2025.
That's a long time.
Who, Feinstein up in 2025?
yeah, she'll be 150 by then.
Hey, she got to go, dog. She got to go.
She just got reelected in 2000. I didn't vote for her.
I
Just
didn't
so
vote
y'all
for her.
know.
I didn't vote
I
for it
didn't
either.
vote for her.
You didn't vote for her either. Yeah, no, 2025. So if she don't retire,
Because the reason how I know the Liberal Party has surpassed her at this point when Bernie won California. I don't think people realize Bernie won California in the primaries.
Yeah.
so I think like Don Feinstein, the moderate Democrats, as far as California, are going to start getting pushed out by the more progressive to Bernies of the world.
but I definitely agree, Sheila. I think that we need to start putting some term limits. But the hardest thing is, well, back in 200 years ago, when they made these amendments to ratify the Constitution, they had to have 2/3. Of course, they want to be in power as long as they can. So there's so many amendments that are sitting there waiting for states to, join in ratification. They're never going to do it because it doesn't benefit. We lucky they did the 10, and we lucky they got the ones we got. To be honest.
Well, a big part that would deal with gerrymandering and voter suppression is to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Mm-hmm.
That's been sitting there since John Lewis wrote it.
I think that one's gonna go.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna get that. She's 88, Ronise.
Wow.
The California race.
She's older than California raisins.
Dun, dun, dun,
I
dun.
was not ready.
Oh,
Those suckers are old.
Damn
damn it, Ronnie.
They are
Damn it,
very
Ronnie.
true. But yeah, I think John Lewis. I think the John
Lewis.
Lewis one is gonna go. I think that was.
So Rodney said, Don Feinstein said, we didn't go through this during the Civil War.
I love you, Ronnie.
She probably knocked out somewhere sleeping. She wasn't in the chamber. She wasn't nowhere around.
Don Feinstein, like we didn't allow the Confederates during the Civil War to get in.
Yeah, she legit was born in 1933. So that's 2 years away from 2 years past the Great Depression. Imagine you lived through like two depressions anyway.
What did y'all see our former governor Terminator video?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't
see it. What happened?
That I felt that a lot more than I actually expected I would. That was deep.
What happened? Bring me up to speed. I haven't seen it.
Mark, go ahead, break it down.
I don't. Which video are you talking about? When he was breaking?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, I saw bits and pieces of it, and I remember the
So basically, he's from Austria,
Mm-hmm.
and he was born 2 years after World War II ended. He said, and so he pretty much, because he grew up in that environment, he pretty much made all the comparing and contrasting to what happened last week with Trump and the Nazi Party, because I don't think a lot of people know Hitler was pardoned, and then that because he was pardoned and they didn't take him seriously, that allowed him to run for president, and then
we know what happened.
Arnold said that the Nazi Party started off like the Proud Boys.
But they've been taking stuff from the Nazi Party's playbook, like across the board.
Good night. So he pretty much gave the historical comparison to like how if you don't handle this the right way, don't think you can end up like Germany, pretty much. And so but it was
the right amount of emotion, temperament, and he tied everything in with the U.S. and what's going on, where you couldn't say, "Oh, that's not real."
Yeah. Yeah, and because he grew up there, he gave a great analogy, and I was like, damn, I felt that a lot more than I actually thought I would.
Yeah, because he was talking from
It
experience.
seems everybody gets it. It seems everybody gets it, but Americans, white male Americans, to be more
Oh no, they
specific.
get it. They just want to act like they
Well,
don't.
no,
They
that's
don't
why
get
they acting like it, because I think they losing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It,
You know, I saw this
But in
interview.
reality,
I
they're not
thought it
losing
was
nothing,
a joke
especially not
where they
money.
said they encouraged all of these Proud Boys and stuff to never masturbate so that they could keep them frustrated and
Yep.
angry. Like it's something that it's like a white nationalist tool for them where across the board they try to force them into like shame them into not masturbating
Sound
so
like
that they
American
can
History
be
X.
like super
Well,
angry and hyphy for no
well,
reason.
Well, yeah. If you look at the whole, they call it incels too. There's like a whole faction of dudes that they end up recruiting from that are called incels, that are lonely, woman hating, dudes who follow
Celibate.
these celibate, who follow these rules, who are just angry all the time, and they prey on that, and they move that, and they utilize that.
That was crazy though. Like,
that's some gay shit.
Well, I think
that's
basically,
some small penis stuff right
I
there.
think we definitely need
Whoa.
to. I think we definitely need to keep an eye on the 100-day plan. They had a plan, kind of see what they're doing, and like Joe Biden said, hopefully between doing the business of the country and
Well,
whatever.
it's gonna be kind of interesting because if you're doing an impeachment, the impeachment supposed to take priority over everything else. So that's what the debate was. Do you really want an impeachment to go through a new president term, because trying to get the people he need to get in to start running the country, bills and things passed. When you're going through an impeachment, you're supposed to put all that on hold until you deal with the impeachment. But
Well, yeah,
apparently Biden has talked with Mitch McConnell and a couple other people, and he's like, look, we need to like chew gum and walk at the same time, where y'all can handle the impeachment on some days, and then on other days,
I think
we could get my people through.
but the priority is running the government.
I think what they did was the impeachment will be handled in the morning, and then the other aspects will be handled in the afternoon.
That's
because
because
it's really not a rush now. Once he's out of office,
Yeah.
It's just
really not a
formality.
rush. Because at this point, you just doing this to him to stop him from running again.
Yeah,
Right.
That's their main purpose. They don't even care about all those benefits and stuff. They just care about making sure he don't run again to ruin their party.
but this is Trump we're talking about, and every single time we say he can't go lower than low, he's surprised.
He's like Benny from the Mummy, like Imhotep, like he just never, like he know how to survive under all circumstances.
I think the only thing that could put him really in check if they indict him on something. If they actually charge his ass with something, he'll chill.
You can see the stages of him being afraid. Like he'd be like, "Okay, whatever, go inside a riot." Oh, my bad. Come on. Go ahead. I don't care. Impeachment is my fellow Americans. Like you can see, he goes through those Gemini like up and down. Like, oh, I'm doing it. But, you know what I mean?
I think he's bipolar.
No, I think he's narcissistic. I think he's just narcissistic.
What was that question?
Isn't Mitch the Senate majority leader, Senate minority leader after the 20?
Yeah, but that really don't mean nothing.
Yeah, as we saw with Pelosi and Schumer, all you can do is kind of get mad and throw press conferences when shit ain't going your way.
Yeah. You don't have nothing. Yeah, now.
Well, the president of the Senate will be Kamala. So,
but I think a good thing with that they did, which I think is really smart, and Nancy again, one of her moves, they did pass a lot of bills in the House because now it's like up to the Senate, so they don't have to take all that time to be doing stuff like, okay, this is our, even when they did the Heroes Act, they tried to blame it on the Democrats. Like, wait a minute, we passed the whole bill in May, so y'all telling us we're the holdups, and they did all that stuff already. So whatever it is, it's the Senate. We got to be like, okay, y'all, what's up?
Well, hopefully Kamala will pass some of those things. Well, she would push for those things to get through because she's on
a couple of them. Yeah, a couple of them she wrote. Yeah,
a couple of them she wrote.
Yeah, quite a few of them. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we do need to keep an eye on what they actually said that they were going to try to accomplish within those 100 days, and just hold their feet to the fire. I think
the first thing, I think the 2000 will eventually get passed. I noticed when Biden came out with that was right after Joe Manchin said that bullshit on Jake Tapper's show that he wasn't sure about it. So I think Biden purposely did that to put pressure on Joe Manchin. Like, okay, everybody, we all want this 2000, and you're gonna be the one person, the one Democrat that's gonna hold this shit up. Go ahead and try and see what happens.
Yeah,
so he has something he wants.
Right. But I was gonna say, Ron, too.
Yeah, I just say he just has something he wants.
What you're talking about is that's that pressure though that we need to put on that. All right, your ass gonna be that one holdout. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about like, yo, we can't let motherfuckers get away with that type shit. Like, you gotta make life uncomfortable for them in the Senate if they doing shit
in
like
the airport.
Yeah.
So I know I said, oh, Biden setting his ass up because that he had not only he went on Jake Tapper's show, but he put out a tweet. The $2,000 I'm for blah 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 blah. Because on Saturday he had said, no, I'm not. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to pass it. So when Biden put out that tweet, like $600 not enough. I said, oh, he putting pressure on his ass because he pretty much gonna say, look, we all want this except you. Now go ahead and be the one person that, and then we might end up losing his seat to a Republican, but that's why, because that is Trump territory, West Virginia. But that's where we have to say, okay, we got to look for other places. Like they should already start be looking other places to pick up.
When it's shaky like that, we got to do that and then send Stacey Abrams in.
Look, who is his boss, so to speak? Because I'm using this as an analogy, but I watch Power and the DNC leader there. This dude is making everybody on Earth move. So can't the DNC leader kind of force his hand as like a whip or something? And say, okay, you don't vote for this, we're going to withhold something from your state or something. Isn't there somebody that oversees them?
So what they could do to him and say, look, because I think he's on a committee, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. They could tell him like, look, you don't do this, we're gonna just take your ass off the committee and we just gonna like
bench you, basically bench you for the rest of your term.
Yeah, we just pretty much gonna just bench you for the rest of your term.
Really? Who's his boss?
Like
his boss is his constituent, so they're the ones that
constituents, right.
Now, what Quinn said is true. Like as far as committees and stuff, and you're gonna be persona non grata within, the committee, but the only ones that can really teach those senators and congressmen lessons are the people who vote for them or don't vote for them. And that's
my point where I'm saying, like, maybe I'm sounding like super aggressive, where I'm like, we have to stay on their heads to where I'm not trying to even wait to the election. If we get down to it and he's holding up the money, we need to teach people how to write all the letters, make all the phone calls, and put direct, specific pressure on him. Like, hey, this is what we want.
No,
they just waiting and being like, I can't believe this dude's such a jerk. They just sitting at home with it.
They put his shit out there on Twitter already. His number, them progressives don't play. The motherfuckers AOCs, they don't play. They already put his phone.
Name names and don't care.
Yeah, they not playing with. They not about to let him hold it.
That's all I'm asking for is immediate pressure. I don't want to have to wait to an election. If you're not doing what you say you're supposed to do, I want them to get used to feeling immediate pressure from us.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. And that's my thing. That's what I was talking about. I was saying, like, there's no way if it's one dude who's about to stop Americans from getting $2,000 that nigga shouldn't be feeling some kind of heat. He should be feeling some kind of pressure. You know what I mean?
I think they're gonna get to him because like when I saw Biden put out that tweet, I said, oh, he pretty much put all this shit on you, dude. And you don't.
And also, I mean, if Biden wanted to, and I hate saying this because again, it's also nuance and you definitely need context. There's a lot he could do through executive order, which a lot of presidents don't like to do because number one, things can be overruled, and number two, when you're talking about money, it's Congress are the ones that spend the money. So you don't want to be like what Trump did earlier on in the pandemic after that first unemployment thing ended. He said, okay, y'all, we need to give them $400, and people couldn't afford that. Like the states were like, well, we can only afford the $300 y'all giving us. So, I know you said. So people were like mad at the state people, like, where's our extra money? They're like, we don't have it. So basically, I'm saying all that to say, when it comes to money, Congress, they're the ones that spend the money. They're the ones that deal with the deficit and all that stuff and how things are going to be in the future and our credit rating and blah, 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 blah. So, that makes it a little bit more difficult for a president to just say, this is what we're going to do now. I know a lot of people are saying with the whole student loan thing, and he was saying the 10,000, and they were saying 50,000. It's a little bit more intricate than just with when it deals with money, too, because Congress are the ones that do the budget. So there's a lot of other consequences when it comes with money. So
I think they're gonna put Biden. They're gonna put pressure on Biden about that 10,000 student loan.
Hell yeah.
His VP was one of the people that was running
or not, or to decrease it.
I thought they were
well, he's saying 10,000, but
he ran on 10,000.
Yeah, he ran on 10,000, but they want 50. People want 50.
But Kamala.
Oh, okay, so increase it.
Bernie, shit, pretty much everybody was like 50.
Yeah, it must be a reason. It must be a reason. It must be some type of median situation, or it must be a reason why that's a number.
Well, the reason what they were saying was, if they forgave 50,000, the gap between African Americans financially compared to whites would close extremely. That's why Bernie was like, I forgive all that shit. That's why I voted for Bernie. Because Bernie is like, I wipe all that shit out. But that's why I'm also glad that Bernie, Bernie was like, I wipe all that shit out. But Biden was running on 10,000. Kamala, a couple other people ran on 50,000. And but I think they're gonna press Biden on that.
So hopefully they're able to.
Schumer and them seem like they're
down for the 50.
Yeah,
most people are. Hopefully, they'll be able to do things without executive order, because the bad part about executive orders is,
well, we're kind of finding that out. That motherfucker come in there and change everything.
Not only changing everything, but also when it comes to getting other stuff done, it's difficult to get other people when you just like, fine, I'll just do an executive order. Okay, for 4 years we got blah blah blah, but then after that, the world blows up. So
Chandra, let me ask you this though. So worst case, could Biden do an executive order for the 2000? Like if they vote against it, could he do an executive order for the 2000?
Technically, I think he could, but like I was saying, because Congress is in charge of the spending.
Yeah, Congress would have to approve it.
Congress is in charge of the spending, so that's the money part becomes a little bit more intricate. Now, they're able to do stuff like deferments of like our student loans and stuff like that, because eventually that money is going to be paid, and but when it comes to a certain amount of money, Congress has to approve it, and then they have veto power now. So, but they're not going to do that because they have the same party. So it's a little bit more tricky when it comes to money because it's money. But when it's other stuff like, don't pee on national parks and you get 10,000, they can do that. Okay, fine. The money thing is just a little bit more tricky.
Well, I know we wanted to get into some things about reparations, but I don't want to rush that. So we're going to push that to next week. And everybody that's watching in the comments and everybody on the panel, I want y'all to come up with 3 things that y'all think are realistic versions of reparations that we probably can get passed immediately and push to our government to see if we can make those things happen. That's what I want. I'm giving Uncouth Radio and I'm giving Uncouth listeners. Give me y'all a little homework. Yeah, y'all got homework. Give me 3 things that you think could be realistic changes that can be made under the current administration. That
don't say current. Karen is
Well, the administration next week. Yeah, the administration. Yeah, the next administration, things you think could actually pass under them that will really help. Because what made me think about this is talking about the student loans, things that could help with that wealth gap. Because the wealth gap and helping us get out of poverty is one of the biggest things, and helping us with education. There's a few things, but I want y'all to give me your thoughts, and maybe we could, spitball some ideas and put some things together and really get it into the hands of some people. You know what I'm saying? We might reach out to
And
reach out to Ann. Yeah, reach out to Ann. See if she can put it in the hand of the CBC for us. You know what I mean? It's good to have friends in high places these days. You know what I mean?
real quick. Cause I know we did this at the end of Obama's term. It's kind of like a Mount Rushmore somewhat, not really. Where do you rank Trump as worst presidents ever?
Number one.
Yeah.
No.
I don't even.
The
I think
reason I rank him, I'm gonna get
worse than Nixon.
I'm gonna give my ranking. I'm gonna give my ranking, and I'm gonna tell y'all why I'm qualified to give my opinion, because I have watched a documentary series where it talked about every president and what they did, how it affected the country, and up until him, he was the only one that they didn't get.
Okay.
Now I know we as Black people, and I'm not brushing over this at all. We could talk about slavery. We could talk about, the things that they've done to Native Americans. I'm not brushing over the effects of that at all. So, not because I already see you getting crazy, Ron. I already see you getting crazy.
I'm just listening. I want to hear this.
I'm not brushing over that at all.
Yeah, can you get the point though?
Because take him out of it, of course, we're going right down to them. What I feel about Trump is living every day living, and we're getting attacked from so many different avenues. He's attacked money. He's attacked our freedom. He's attacked the country. He's brought out people to
Kill
attack. There's so many different avenues of attack, and it's every single day. I have my niece asking me, is the country okay now? I'm looking at TV like it's another country every day. Now you got your homeboy, Andrew Jackson, who did write the bill to just
That's my vote. That's who I believe is the
okay,
worst.
then I'll let you deal with that. But then you also have, what is he doing? Even what he's doing now, he's doing nothing now, and 600 and 300,000 people are down, almost 40,000. Preventable stuff, off of ego,
I would say this about Trump. I think he's the most unqualified of all time. And he's definitely the worst in modern time. But it's hard. With Andrew Jackson, and what's ironic about Andrew Jackson, I said this in the beginning, one of the things that stuck out to me about Trump, when he did one of his first press conferences from the Oval Office, I noticed this nigga had a picture of Andrew Jackson behind him. And I was like, Andrew Jackson was one of the worst people ever. Like the genocide, nigga wrote a bill, the Extermination Act, to get rid of the Native Americans. Like he was an evil bastard. Now, on this topic, it's really not no wrong answer unless you say Obama, LBJ, maybe FDR and Lincoln. I don't think you could really say they was the worst. But overall, I don't think whoever you say is a wrong answer as far as the worst. But I think Trump modern time by far. But to me, I got to put him number 2 behind Andrew Jackson, right behind that, because I ain't gonna lie, Ronald Reagan was the worst president for me for a minute until I studied Andrew Jackson. So I got Reagan number 3, and then if you had slaves before.
You said if you had what?
I've been trying to figure out why
you number 4.
I'm trying
All
to
right, so
figure
for
out
me-
why is that fool on money. I've been trying to figure that out, Kelly. Same. I've been asking questions every time I see a $20 bill.
Andrew
I'm like,
Jackson?
why is Andrew Jackson on $20
I
bill?
don't know. Andrew
'Cause
Jackson,
white-
He
man.
represents this country.
Because
That's
white-
all it takes.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, I'm gonna say from number 4 to number 1. Number 4, I'm probably gonna say it's Trump. Number 3, Andrew Jackson. Number 2, Ronald Reagan. And number 1, motherfucking Bush, tied with
Which
Buchanan.
one?
Which one?
Bush won. Bush won.
Hey, you know what's scary
Bush
about that?
41.
You know what's scary about? He was on it off 4 years. So when your 4 years,
But let me tell you why. I'm
gonna
gonna say, well, because it was 4 years, but you think about how much fucked up shit Bush touched. Because it wasn't only his presidency. Remember, he was in the CIA
Bush
and he
Reagan.
took down the civil rights. He was there with Bush Reagan as the vice president, and then he was there behind the scenes during his son run. So essentially, he was really in there 8, 12, 13 years.
add charges to his shit.
He added years to his presidency. Like,
Well,
that's not.
Because think about it, he was the vice president behind the actor Ronald Reagan, right? And a bunch of people said even then Bush was running that White House, and then he had his term, which was so bad he was one of the few presidents to not get a second term, like Trump. And then you had his son, who we know how dumb his son was. So all of his cabinet was basically his daddy homeboys. You know what I mean?
Dick Cheney.
Yeah, Cheney. Well, Cheney
Yeah.
was president though.
So you take that, and you take all. Yeah, so you take that, and then you take all the shit that he did against civil rights leaders, the shit he did as a CIA. I think he has put himself in the fabric of this country in a negative manner, and more in recent times, more than any other president have. He has had more effect in recent times than any other president has had. So that's why it's Bush for me. Because if you say I don't fuck with Ronald Reagan, who's a part of that? Bush. If you know what I'm saying? If you say,
but Reagan was his president, because I mean,
no. I know what you're saying. I'm saying Reagan was his president, but one, Reagan had Alzheimer's at the time. He did. The nigga did. Reagan had Alzheimer's at the time, and Bush was running that shit. We all know Bush was running that shit, man.
And Nancy.
Yeah, Bush and Nancy.
hey,
It's well
Hey.
documented.
like I said, it's really not no wrong answer to this. Whoever you decide to say, oh yeah, I don't know if Jimmy Carter, if he wasn't a bad president, but I heard he was like one of the best people that was ever.
Personality wise.
Yeah,
Yes.
personality.
Still love him to today.
But he is the most disliked of the surviving presidents because Jimmy Carter, because he's very opinionated and he'll call them like, your policy sucks, so you need to do. And that's like an unwritten rule with presidents, like they're not supposed to do that to each other. Of course, Trump is on the outskirts of that, but yeah, they try to do stuff without him because he's like,
I pretty much line up with Dame. I would trade Reagan for James Buchanan.
Yeah,
He
Buchanan was
had that
terrible.
Dred Scott shit. Like that's not to be overlooked.
Well, that's what I said. Buchanan was tied for my number 1 with Bush. I had Buchanan tied for my number 1 with Bush.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm pretty much the same lineup. But Trump is unanimously the worst. Like,
Yeah, a modern time, I think by far.
no
Well,
debate.
of modern times is no debate. Of modern times,
yeah, I
Trump
think
is the
maybe
worst.
we break up the time periods because there's some, then I think we probably will line up a little bit more. But
A lot of them were pretty crappy on different levels. Yeah.
yeah, they were all pretty crappy. Like you said,
That's why I said
Because if you only-
it's really you got a good about 35 options to be right.
yeah.
Like I
if you
We only
slave-
had 45 and like 35 of
No,
them.
like, if
maybe
you
40.
own slaves,
That's some
like,
bad
that
fucking odds.
I
automatically-
say 40.
If
Okay,
you own slaves,
The
that
wrong
automatically.
I don't think Obama could be the worst president ever. I don't think LBJ,
I don't
Lincoln,
think Bill Clinton.
Roosevelt.
FDR, Clinton, and I'll say Jimmy Carter. So that's
You got
six.
about- yeah. Okay.
That's
So
six.
six.
So
All the rest of them was
40?
trash bags.
Where we at 40? So you got 40 options to be right. Your number 1 to be right.
At all 40, yeah. Yeah.
Do we have a DM, Chandra?
Do we have a DM?
No.
Chandra?
I mean, I could.
Boom.
Wait,
Damn.
Mars, did Mars
Oh,
go?
we didn't get Margie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, go
Mark,
ahead, Mark.
Wait, what?
president. Who you got?
Wait,
Stoner dude.
No. I'm in the immortal words of Dylan. Trump, 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 Trump.
what?
I say this. Yeah, Woodrow was a well modern. What would y'all say?
1900s. Yeah,
1900s, yeah.
To present.
And even for me, I would say, let's say from maybe the top of
guess
our
60.
lifetimes. Yeah, like the top of our lifetimes.
Well, civil rights to now, I guess, would be considered modern.
Yeah. Civil rights to now would be
civil rights.
considered
Oh, Trump. It's Trump and Reagan. I got Trump, Reagan, Bush, and Bush.
They neck and neck. They all.
Trump, Reagan, Bush, and Bush.
For the-
If we going from 1960 on.
yeah.
So we had the first black president that everyone loved, and then we had the motherfucker that was cheating on his wife with an intern.
And you know what a friend of mine's son said, and this is kind of crazy, because you know a lot of kids they have only had two presidents. One was black, and one was white.
Mhm.
So my friend started asking, "Hey, are all the white presidents bad like this? The black ones don't act like this." Because all he know was Obama and Trump.
Trump.
You don't know. And he's like, I think he's like 14. Yeah. I said, damn, I never even thought about that.
No, for real. I remember when my nephew asked me, "Did we ever have any white presidents?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, sir, a lot."
That's wild.
Have a seat. Have a seat. Open
Have a
this book.
seat. How about let's start?
Because if you asked us that at that same age, we would have thought it was never even conceivable that a black person would be voted for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we were in elementary school, it was never a thought that a black person would be president.
No.
So and I said, like, for my daughter to the first 8 years of her life, she had a black president.
Like
Yeah, that's what it was, and I didn't realize that. I was like,
Oh.
"What has ever been a white president?"
Hey, I remember calling my grandmother when Obama won, and it was like a moment of silence, like her disbelief, like from that era, because you know it was like a joke.
Yeah.
The first.
Yeah.
Remember, it was an ongoing joke. Bill Clinton was the first black president because he played the fucking saxophone on a City Hall show. Like,
Smoke weed.
yeah, it was like jokes like that. So, like for that era, they was like shocked.
No, my dad was crying during the inauguration. He was
Yeah.
like, "I can't even with what else made him really emotional? When Kamala got elected, he was like, I can't, my dad has a bunch of daughters, so he's like, I just never thought like I would see this. My dad's what, 65, 66? So
And then Trump is the first nigga president.
Yes.
Yeah,
and you know what? They told me to stop calling him ghetto. They told me that I need to call him trailer park.
He a
no, he's
nigga.
a nigga.
He a
He's
nigga.
definitely
With
trailer
a
park.
Y though. He a nigga though.
He everything they thought Obama was gonna be. He got a whole bunch of fucking criminal homies,
A whole bunch of baby mamas.
mamas. His son do crack.
Can't read. Oh yeah, because Donald Jr. be coked out every time you see him. Like I'm like, he need to get some rehab.
Yeah, he on crack.
Yeah, a lot of people were. But like Quinn said with the assassination thing, they didn't want that civil war.
Oh yeah, I wasn't worried about that. Matter of fact, that's where a whole bunch of cops, to go back to like our very first topic. I remember seeing a whole bunch of cops having, like, you know how you go to the range and you got the target?
Yeah.
They were posting that shit of Obama. I was like, this shit is wild. But I told them, because I remember they was like, well, he won't be around he won't make it a year. I said, I bet he do. I said, because let me tell you something, y'all don't want this beef. I was like, this generation, look, they kill people for no fucking reason. So don't give them somebody that they actually look up to and care about and proud of. And y'all think y'all just about to just, in this generation, trust me, it ain't gonna be like the Dr. King shit.
Mm-mm.
But you know
Like,
what? I have to really give
Bill-
props to a lot of the people who are our age that are parents. I feel like you guys are doing a really good job with preparing your kids for this stuff and educating them early. Like I keep meeting so many young people, like even as young as like 10 and 11 years old, and you have conversations with them and they're so bright and they're being introduced to this stuff early. So that's one thing that I really have to commend you guys who are parents who are really doing your job to prepare your kids to not fall into the laziness that we were in.
Well,
well, you know what?
hold on. Religious Spectrum is trash. I love your name. Listen, I didn't have a choice, and let me tell you why. When my daughter was in kindergarten, she came home terrified because she said the president was going to send her Hispanic friends away and build a wall.
I remember that. I remember you.
Like, I picked her up from school. She's fucking crying. So now I don't have a choice but to start teaching her what's going on politically so she can understand why her friends might or might not be sent away. But she get in my car at 5 years old talking about ISIS coming to take my friends away from school.
That was a very, and it is a very, no matter if you have on CNN all the time or whatever you have on all the time, it doesn't matter. My nephew asked me, he's 17. He said, was the other day, he was like, was that like 9/11? And we were kind of talking about the differences and stuff. He said, because, like mass shootings and, race riots and all that stuff, that's pretty normal. I was like, this is like their world. Where they're seeing these mass shootings, where they got kids doing TikToks telling the senators, hey, this is what happens if you go into you're having a mass shooting. These kids, they have these mass shooting drills, active shooter drills.
See, unlike us, these kids are more exposed to a lot more, so you can't bullshit them.
Yeah.
Right. Our parents could have would be like, oh, it's all right, baby. Don't worry about it and don't explain.
We thought what the teacher was telling us was gospel.
Yep.
So you can't go and say like Isaiah hit me up. Isaiah was like that. I'm at school with all these Trump supporters. They said Trump not racist, but I saw them dudes with the Nazi flags. Like he already and Isaiah loved World War II. He's like me. That's like his favorite war to study on his own. That's why I took him to a Jewish museum and he met a Holocaust survivor. Like that, I didn't do that. He wanted that because his teacher brought up World War II and he got into it. So when the Trump supporters and he connected the Nazi flag, the Ku Klux Klan, with racism and Trump supporters. So I couldn't even sell the bullshit to him if I tried.
Right.
Yeah. Because he already had that. And you know what? That's a really good point. That's a really good point because my parents were more so like we used to watch a lot of the Eyes on the Prize. Like that's how we, that was how we learned about like civil rights and stuff like that. And they talked a little bit about their experiences, but there was nothing, they weren't doing the fire hose and the gas, but we see that now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they weren't doing that when I was younger, so I just understood that as part of our past.
I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with the parents like, look at these crazy ass white people.
Look,
God.
We was rolling through
that
the
was
hood.
it,
We was rolling through the hood with Confederate flag bikes and big wheels because we watched Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep.
Niggas were rolling.
These niggas jumped through windows. We thought they was cool.
Look, hey, we was proud to call our bike General Lee.
We're tight pants.
We was all fucked up.
How's that for mental conditioning? Because that was a big show when we were kids.
Yeah. I mean, think about how I remember watching Western movies with my grandmother, and I thought the Indians was the bad guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So all that stuff that we was taught, it just made me like I had to teach because Kennedy actually came home to Cole Park. Kennedy came home and asked her mom. She said, "Mom, when Trump starts slavery again, can I be your slave?"
Whoa.
And her mom was like, "What the fuck did that teach her?" So her mom had to go up to the school, and this in Virginia.
Oh yeah, Kennedy mom ain't black. I forgot.
Yeah, she black. Her ass. She ain't. Well, she ain't black there. she ain't black in Virginia. She black in California.
She packed
But
paper
she
bag
ain't back in
challenge.
Virginia.
I'm about to say that joke hit different now. Damn.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, she mixed or whatever, but out there they think she's white.
Yeah.
So, so her mom had to go up there and talk to the teacher, and because Kennedy was tripping out, she thought she was about to be a slave.
Wow.
So,
And that's not even that's not exaggeration.
No.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. So we kind of have, and you know, to your point, Sheila, our kids, like when we was young, the only news we got was channel 2, 4, 7, and 9.
and 13.
And 13. That's it. Now, these kids not only get what they get from school, because they talk about political shit at school, but also these kids got iPads. So you get shit that pop up on iPads. You get shit that
you
pop
got
up.
alerts.
Yeah, certain alerts. And you know, when they go to commercials, them commercials ain't always gonna be kids commercials when they go to the ads.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like they are exposed to a huge difference in a huge amount of information that we weren't exposed to as kids and as children. And I think because we are much more politically sound than our parents were at that time, I think it behooves us to give them the information so they can actually be better than us now too.
Yeah, because we're not passing the 3 strikes law at a 70%. I don't know what the hell parents were thinking about back then.
But that extra effort makes all the difference.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know, as when we did the Uncouth show, the Uncouth with the Youth, you see that there are a lot of kids who are really, really politically engaged. But I think it's because of those things, like Kennedy thinking she's going to be a slave, Tweet thinking she's going to lose her friends. So I think this is one of the first times that things in the presidency, kids felt like it would affect, because we ain't never think the presidency could affect us as kids.
No, not at all.
This is the first time these kids felt like what was happening was actually gonna affect them in real time and in real life. And I think that's the huge difference, because they had to send a letter home. Like they sent the letter home, and that's what shook her. They sent the letter home like some of the kids was getting picked up by ICE, or some kids. So they was trying to say, like, they sent the letter home like basically the school is not gonna give y'all up. Y'all can come to school.
No,
like that's
terrifying.
That's fucking terrifying, dog. That's crazy. They had to send
Especially since so many of them kids got stolen, and I can't believe that's something that they just stayed away from. The last time I checked, I'm sure it's a bigger number, but right at the beginning of COVID, there was like 1,500 kids, like 2 years old and younger, that came up missing from those little camps that they have. And you know how them child molesters, all the cops and all that junk be connected.
Well, they got 800 kids who they don't know where their parents are.
Yeah.
So, but we got to leave on a better note.
Yeah.
So,
moped.
You know, speaking of moped, how about another rock? This your top 4 worst uncouth guests.
Oh, I am not going on record with that one.
You know what?
We had a relationship expert who wasn't a fucking expert. She just fucked with dudes and men.
And women.
And women, I meant. Who else?
Dang, he warned me about this, and I didn't.
Who else? We had Lenny. Lenny got mad at us because he was a Trump supporter, and we asked him how does it feel to vote with the Klan. Who else? We got some other people I'm missing. We had a couple folks.
I just feel like, Dave, you should have already played the music.
So hey,
I don't know why I'm letting them go. Like, I want to see this.
Right.
Hey, on the radio, we see y'all.